If you wanna stay with me, if you wanna try, maybe you could be with me, but only for the night.
Hi there, welcome back to the Board Game Specialists. I'm Carla.
And I'm Melanie.
And today we are talking about our top 9 spooky games.
Ooh.
We've done this maybe 2 years ago, but we wanted to
Did we do it last year? Seems to me like this is...
I think it was the first
Really?
we did it.
We skipped? Oh.
Yeah, I don't think we...
Well, we're overdue then.
Yeah. So, and I went back to that list to see, and I don't think I have... Let me look. Oh, I might have one on there from before.
I'm sure I have some crossover.
Oh,
but
maybe two. Might be two.
I try to pick different stuff than I normally do as well, a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we are normally doing we're in the middle of our top 100, but we took a break so we could do our spooky games because we both love our spooky games.
Yes.
And this whole month, I've had a huge stack of games that I've set up to play. Played almost all the ones I wanted to, but one of them, or some of them, are going to be played at Card Treat this weekend.
Yes.
So there was a couple that I didn't get to try yet, and one of them was Salem.
Oh, okay.
I think it's 1692. I didn't write the number down yet. And so it's like a social deduction game that I want to play Saturday night. I'm going to run. And then Whirling Witchcraft I haven't got to play. So those didn't make this list, but they may have. But was there any that you haven't got to play yet? That
There's it's tons, almost all my and mostly this month, right? Like I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a lot of these plays. I'm gonna have one set up on my desk every day to kind of learn. And then at Thanksgiving, my sister and her fiance decided that they're getting married not this coming weekend, but next weekend. So it's been like, and it's happening at my house. Because I was supposed to do a Halloween party that day. She's like, well, do your Halloween party. We'll come afterwards. And I'm like, I think maybe it should become a wedding party. Yeah. So we changed it, but it's happening here. So I've been like in wedding planning mode for my sister's wedding. And there's like, it's really interfering with my board game plays. So there was like, oh yeah, all these spooky games I want to play. And I did a little bit more at the beginning of the month. And then it's like, crash and burn. And then it doesn't help. I also went to Comic-Con, the Mountain View County Comic-Con that they did last weekend, which was great. And I was recording from there, which was horrible because I was relying on their Wi-Fi and it was so bad. So if you watch these videos, the sound is very spotchy because of that. So I was like, okay, well, live and learn. This is why you don't see lots of like live on location because the Wi-Fi is not reliable. But then my table in my office has been a mess until today because I just dumped everything on there. And then my game room is where the ceremony's happening. So that's all kind of, I have like, there was one game I was trying to look up so I could refresh myself on it. I think it's behind the screen that we put up for the backdrop of. So I was like, oh, because I'm not pulling that out yet. So yeah, my gaming is taking a crippled blow this month.
Well, you played a few, so which is one that you're wanting to talk about today?
Well, because you know what, Carla, I've set up this presentation and I was like, hey, I'm going to put myself first this time because it's been you all along so much lately. And then I got started with the presentation and I put the pictures up and then I put your pictures up instead of mine. So I was like, it's easier, just change the name. So we're going to start with you again.
Sounds good. Well, I finally got to the table Unconscious Mind.
Nice.
Now this one I had backed on Kickstarter. I guess probably over a year ago. It wasn't, I don't think it was late. It was, maybe a bit late or on time. I don't think it was early, but the reason I don't know is because a friend of ours was wanting a copy and she's like, oh, I'm going to track one down. And I thought, well, you know what? If you want to buy my copy, you can buy it because she would be the one who I would play with or one of the people I'd play with. So I'm like, I know you really want it. So you can buy mine. I have other things coming. And, like I was looking forward to this game, but at the time, I'm like, I'd rather you have it because you know you want it, and then we'll get to play it. So she ended up buying it from me before it came, and it did come, and she learnt it, which was another bonus.
Right,
It's
exactly.
a pretty heavy game. And so we got to play it last weekend.
Nice.
And it is so good. It's the theme of this is that you are all members of the Wednesday Psychological Society, and you are trying to like formulate new therapeutic techniques and establish a practice and grow clientele, and you're trying to become Freud's most distinguished contemporary. So how you're doing that is you are moving around to different locations kind of and getting bonuses, but the main thing you're doing is you're treating clients and patients with, and mostly their dreams. You're looking at their dreams and you're trying to take off their, I don't know if this is the right term of it, but you're trying to remove their catharsis. So, and what that looks like is you have these patients, so these actual cards of people, and they're covered first with this clear, what is that called? It's like a, just like the paper, the ones in, oh my gosh, I'm blanking with everything here.
Like the clear acrylics?
Yeah, clear acrylic covers, but then they have like a blotch on them, so they kind of blotch up the face so you can't really see. So you have that laid over top. And then on top you have 2 dreams. And you're trying to treat them by completing the dreams, and then depending how much you treat them, then you will remove their catharsis. And then when you completely treat them, removing all their hearts, basically, or like, yeah, removing the hearts on the cards, you will have treated them completely, and then you get all the little bonuses on them. And plus, then they will sometimes either have an end game bonus or like a ongoing bonus to them. Now, the art on these cards are so gorgeous. We played with these shimmery, like hieroglyphic cards.
Okay.
Are just gorgeous. And so there's 2 types of dreams. There's I can't remember the difference, but there's 2 main artists in this game, and one is Andrew Bosley. Wait, and Vincent Dutrait. Yes. Yeah. And one is a certain type of dream, and the other one does all the other types of dreams, or reality or something like that. But it's so neat how they got 2 big artists for this game, and just how it all got put together, because how you're placing your worker placement spots is you're going into these different spots with these speech bubbles, and you can do a single or a double. And then if you do a double, you'll get a double action, but you have to pay coffee. So coffee is like almost like money in this one. So because you're like drinking so much coffee to stay up at night and study and treat these patients that you spend all this coffee. And then you also have, when you're treating these dreams, you have this little wheel that has these little glass stones that start in the middle. And then when you grow this, they will go out and get into these different slots, and they will be like freedom and I can't remember what the other ones are, but they're all different colored of stones that you're trying to increase. And that is how you're treating them, with different values of these stones. And it's just such a neat concept of how they put everything together with the worker placement. And then you're still traveling around these locations. You can publish these books, and that is another way to like get big points. But you're also using each other's knowledge of books as well. So if I don't have a certain book and somebody else does, I can use theirs, but then they will get some kind of benefit from it as well. We played with one little expansion, which was the pet expansion. And so as you're doing your actions, there's always on the side, it'll show how many vials worth that action was. And then you will move this vial around on your player board. And wherever it lands, you will get to do those actions. And if you don't want to spend all those, you can move your little pet up on this sideboard. And if you move it to the top, it'll let you treat somebody completely as a free action, because normally you have to take that as an action. So it's just one of those games that I love, where you'll do this and it'll combo into a bunch of different things, and you just have to kind of figure out which is the best way to do everything and combo it all together and use your resources wisely. Make sure you get enough coffee, because if you run out of coffee, then you really are kind of stuck sometimes. But there's just so much going on, and we only played with one little expansion. There's several of them. There's like a nightmare expansion that brings in some really darkness into it.
Oh, wow.
It's just gorgeous. And there's like player mats, and the resources are just beautiful, like wooden resources, and then the little vial with like a cork in it. Like, it's also realistic, but it's an awesome game. And I know a lot of people are looking forward to this one, and it is really good. The hype is real on this one. It's awesome.
It's funny. Yeah. I saw a picture that had those little vials in it, and I was like, did somebody add those? I didn't pick that picture because I wasn't sure it was part of the game. I assumed it wasn't because it was so over the top. So, okay, I'm not going to pick that picture just because I thought those were like aftermarket added on.
And it's funny, she showed me the base components, and they're even nice. Like, they're
no way.
The vials without the cork. They're still the bottle.
Oh, they're still, wow.
Like one piece. There's still wooden components in the upgraded pack. You have minis, but like the wooden it's really nice. So even a base game of this, I don't know what the board looks like, because she had the player mats.
Oh, the player mats, yeah.
But I'm sure it would all look beautiful too.
Nice. What an unusual theme for a game too.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's really neat.
Nice. All right.
What have you been playing?
Well, this is a game that I have been wanting for a while. And I was like, hey, if I get like unexpected board game money, this is what I want to get. And it finally happened. I think I bought this one actually secondhand because my friend Troy was selling a lot of his collection because he's moving to Texas. So he's selling a bunch of games, and he had like one of those big libraries that he was kind of renting out from, like you could kind of almost like kind of get a membership to be able to borrow. And I ended up getting Turing Machine. And now I watched Imitation Games, which is kind of a movie that's about Mr. Turing creating this machine to break the codes that was coming in. And after that, I was like, oh, that's about that game. And I was like, okay, I want that game now. I want it so bad. And then I never played it. I never really looked much into it. And just kind of like, one day, I want this game. It was kind of a game on my wish list. So he was selling it, and I was like, I want that one. So finally got Turing Machine. We played it. I absolutely loved it, because the way that it works is there's a 3-number code that you need to figure out. And then you're going to have a different scenario. Now, you can use a scenario that's in the book, or like the rule book, but you can also get an app that'll create the scenario. And it says, okay, pull out this card, and you pull out the different cards. That's going to be like the code, like the clues to the codes. And then you pull out these other cards. And then, so you'll look at the, like, let's say the A. And then in this case, it's kind of saying between the yellow number and the purple number. Now, the yellow number is always the middle number. The purple number is always the last number. And then the clue that you can try to figure out is like, is yellow a smaller digit than purple? Are they equal, or is yellow a higher digit than purple? So what you're going to do is you're going to pick 3 cards to put a combination or a number that you want to select. So from 1 to 5. So let's say I do 4, 3, 2. So because my yellow and my purple are 3 and 2, so basically what that is saying is I'm asking if my yellow is greater than purple, because that's what my combination has. So I'm going to put those 3 sets of cards together, and then I'm going to grab my answer key for that A question, and I'm going to put it on top, and then depending on where it opens up, it's either going to show me a yes or no. So if it's a yes, then that means, okay, yes, I now know that yellow is a bigger number than the purple number is. If it shows no, then I was like, okay, so maybe they're equal, or maybe yellow is less. So it doesn't tell you whether you've picked the right number or not, but it tells you whether the kind of the code works with the rules of what the number needs to be. And every round you can ask, I think it's 3 questions. So you can kind of, so you would kind of create a different combination. And there's like 4 in this one. You can go up to 6. 6 like kind of clues that you can verify for, but you can only ask 3 of them at a time. So you got to keep that in mind. Then based on what you're getting for answers, you would kind of change the code that you want to ask, and then you collect the different cards to create that little combination. And every time you put a combination together, there's one little hole, and then you're going to put that on the answer key and see, does this work? And I was so impressed. It's so good. This is pure deduction. Like, it's not social deduction. There's no theme. It's just, can you break the code? But oh my God, it was so good. I loved it. I played it with Lee. He hated it.
Really?
I know. Well, and it didn't help that he's like, okay, I think I have 1 digit figured out, maybe. And I was like, I got it. And he's like, really? Again? So it did that. I'm sure it didn't help. I'm sure that was pretty demoralizing, but it's so good. Oh my God, I enjoyed this so much. Yeah. And then on the app, you can go there. I guess they do a daily challenge. Yeah. So you could get a different code that you would try to break every day. I'm not going to do that, because if I start practicing this, then nobody will really ever want to play with me. Yeah, can't get too good. But it was so good. And then just the cleverness of it, of how it works. Like how putting those 3 cards together is going to give you the one hole that will apply against the answer key. And answers like that is so clever. It is so clever how that all comes together. But yeah, really, really enjoy this one. So that's what I've played lately and I wanted to talk about, and that's Turing Machine.
Awesome. I don't know if this is the case for this designer, but I do know that there's a bunch of video game designers that are creeping into our board game world and designing board games, and they are so thinky, and a lot of them are major combos, which I guess, like, I'm not a video gamer, so I don't know, but that they've done so much of that with video games, and now they're doing it in board games, and it's probably like simple for them to do it in board games because there's less mechanics that they have to deal with. Maybe. But the ones that I've seen, they are just amazing, and I wonder if this is one of them as well, because like just trying to think of how this game was designed just hurts my brain, because how did they ever develop this, like, you know,
computers and machine and calculation, that was involved for sure. It had to be. But yeah.
Exactly. But to think this up, let's do this, and then we can have endless games, like different.
Right. That is so impressive.
My mind, but
yeah.
So cool. Yeah. All right. Well, let's get into our spooky games.
That's right.
By spooky, what I took this as is kind of like Halloween theme, like witchy theme, horror theme. I didn't choose any dungeon crawls, but they would totally fit this.
That's right.
Reason why I didn't was I kind of want to do a list of that.
Yeah.
So maybe when we're done our top 100, because I know we both like that. I'm more newer to it, but I do think I could make a full list of it because I've been diving into it head first.
Nice.
So yeah, I didn't choose any of those, but my first one, my number 9, is one that I'm pretty sure was on my list before, probably was higher up, but there's just so many games that I've played since then that it's at the top of my list, if you want to call the top the
sure bottom, top, number 9. Yeah.
But, it's hard to figure out. Some people say bottom, top. But this one is The Bloody Inn. Now, this was kind of a game that isn't really, really popular. It's pretty hard to find, but it's kind of got a niche to it. Like, it's people who have it usually love it and will not get rid of it. Now, I don't know if they just didn't make a lot of copies, but I don't even know if you can buy this game new anymore, but it's so unique. The theme behind this is you're a bunch of rural, greedy farmers, and you have taken over an inn. And the reason you did that is because you want to rob all your guests of this inn. And how you rob them is you kill them and bury them, and then you take their money. But you need to not have any suspicion around the village or whatever. So if there's some cops that are staying at your inn, you need to keep it low profile and maybe not have any dead bodies that are unburied, like kicking around, so that the cops will get suspicious of you. Now, it's basically a card game, but how you play this is you all start with a few peasants in your hand, and they can be used to influence some guests. So you will draft cards by taking a guest, and you always have to spend like a card or that value of bribery kind of thing to take a guest. Now, each peasant is worth 1. So you would just lay that in the discard and you would take that guest into your hand. And then once you've gotten more guests, they all have different abilities on them. So they can maybe help you. They can help you kill someone if they have a little gun in their top of their card, or they could help you to bury someone. They can help you to build a, I can't think of the name of it, but a place where you can bury someone. There's a annex. That's what it is. They can like supply different amounts of annexes. You can also bury your people in other people's annexes. They do get some of the money from it, but sometimes it's needed if there's still cops sitting in the open area there and no one's drafting them. Then that means at the end of the round, if they're there and there's some bodies that are not buried, they will come after you. So you need to make sure that you do that. It's just one of those games that they're multi-use cards, so they can be used as, an actual guest that you're going to kill. They can be used for their ability. They can almost all be used as an annex to be able to bury people under them. You have a limited supply of what you can gain for money, and then you need to launder it. So you have to use an action to launder it. And the thing is, you only have 2 actions around. So it's like, what 2 things am I going to do before next round, but I really need to kill this guy, but there's a cop there, so I can't do it yet. And so you have to like really manage your hand and the people that you have in it in order to do the actions. It's just so thinky and unique. Everybody should try this one. It's so cool. And that's my number 9, The Bloody Inn.
It does seem interesting. It's a funny theme. Right, like it's so extreme that it makes it funny.
And the art is so neat on it. It's I can't remember the name of the artist. Is it Santiago? I can't remember, but it's got this unique art on it that he has done in other games. And if you see it, you'll be like, oh, I've seen that here and here and here. And it's just very unique. When you see it, you'll kind of recognize possibly who or what other games have the same type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Perfect. So my number 9. So with my list, I also kind of went with game that just would go really well this season, either by theme, by gameplay. And then like my top of my list are the ones that I really enjoy the gameplay the most. This one I picked absolutely on theme. I think this just suits the season so well. And that is Disney Haunted Mansion. It's more Halloween-y than ghosts and being chased by ghosts. But on this one, you'll have card that comes up and it's like these different ghosts you're trying to collect. Like it's a set collection. And depending on the type of ghosts and how much you collect, how much they're going to be worth. Some is like if you have like one of these, it's worth nothing. And if you have 2 of these, it's worth nothing. But if you get up to 4, then it's worth 12 points or so on, right? And it's kind of like you're trying to create your set so that you have the most points at the end of the game. But you also get haunt cards, and you have these ghosts that are going to be traveling around, and if they travel kind of in a room that you're in, like that has an effect. I think you have to take a haunt card then. But when you're like picking the cards that you want to select, if you ever kind of in somebody else's room and you end up dueling for the same card, then you're going to need to take that little card, and it has like a wheel inside, and you would kind of put on there how many haunt cards you're willing to take in order to get that ghost card. And then you would take that. Now the haunt cards have different values on them. It could be worth, 1.5, 2 points or so, but they're not, it's not good. And whoever has the most value in that at the end of the game has to give up their highest or their biggest grouping of ghosts that they've collected. So you've been building up on this, and you lose your biggest one. So you're trying to avoid that, or but like you can't 100% avoid it. So you're trying to be, kind of keep control of how much you end up taking, but you also need to make sure that you collect the other cards. So if there's a lot of dueling, you can't like give in all the time. And you also don't want to make it too easy for the other players, but it kind of, theme-wise, it kind of makes me think a bit of that treasure hunter, the ghost fighting treasure hunter. Like, to me, theme-wise, it has like similar theme to it, but I know ghost fighting treasure hunter's been on my list before, and that one's cooperative. This one definitely is not. But I think the artwork, and it's Disney, it's based on the ride in Disneyland or Disney World. I think they both have them. So it's kind of based on that ride that's available there, and then they kind of turned it into a board game. I think the artwork is just beautiful. The theme, you have the ghost that kind of travels around, and it's just very fitting for the Halloween season. So that's my pick. Number 9 is Disney Haunted Mansion, and this is the one I went to pull out, and I'm pretty sure it's behind the thing we put out. So I was like, okay, well, I can't take a fresh look at it. So, oh well.
Awesome. All right. Well, my number 8 is one that might be on your list. I'm thinking possibly. This one was also on my last list, I believe. And this one is like a party game. This one is called Phantom Inc. So with this one, you are in teams, and you are all trying to guess one word. But how you go about that is, I think you are ghosts, the two people.
The clue givers
are ghosts. And how they give clues is, well, first you have a hand of cards each, and you will choose from there what to keep them, what to use or to discard. And they will all be just kind of weird questions. Like one might be, where would I buy this thing? Can this thing be eaten? Just like silly questions like that, where it might not apply at all to the word, but you have no idea what the word is. So you're like, okay, we got to kind of get a variety of questions so that it will kind of cover all areas. If it's like a food, an object, or an animal or something. And so what you do is you have these lists of, or like, what is it? 1 to 9 different clues that you can give. And how you give clues is you will start writing a word that will be the clue to the answer. They'll put the card down and say the question is like, where would I buy this kind of thing? And say the answer was lawnmower. And you start writing, say you start writing Home Depot, and you start with the H, and then you start writing the O, but your group might know, like, once you start writing what that word is, and they don't want you to finish writing it because the other team can also see, and that's going to help them. So you can stop them as soon as you kind of think, you'll say, is it Silence? I think, and you will stop, and then they will go and they will do the same thing, and you get to all watch what they're writing down, and you know what the question is. So you're like, okay, maybe it's that. And then you go on to the second one, and you will do that. And if at any point you can guess it, then you will say it. But you do get to a point on certain questions where you will actually, what is it now? When you get to that circled spot?
Yeah, when you get to the part where that has the I, you can ask for an extra letter in any of the clues, either your own or the other team.
Or the other person, so then you can make it more obvious, possibly. But it's really neat. When I had heard this game described, I was like, this sounds ridiculous. Like, I don't even think it makes sense. But we played it. I think we played it a couple times, and it's just so fun because you get so on this like wavelength from your team, and you're like, oh, I think that's probably this. Let's see what they're going to write. Stop. And then, sometimes you're totally on the right path, but sometimes you are totally the opposite. And what you think they're writing is not at all, but it's just fun. It's such a different type of party game, but I really like it. And that's my number 8, Phantom Inc.
Yes, Phantom Inc. is so good. This is one that I played once and I was like, okay, I want it. Okay, I'll add it to the list. Yeah, Phantom Inc. Because it's just... Yeah, well, I'll dig it out if it is. So, but I'm like, oh, is it there? I was like, I wasn't going to move it's easy to move, but I wasn't going to, I was just looking today. I was like, well, I'm not going to worry about that now, but yeah. Alrighty. So that, great game, great pick. It's perfect for the season too. All right, my number 8 is Fright. I bought this game at Princess Autos of all places, which has like tools and bottle parts and different things. Like, it's not a place where you think you would come across board games. And I wouldn't start going to Princess Auto specifically to go board game shopping because it's really hit and miss whether there's going to be anything there. But I bought this one because I thought it would be kind of like neat. I don't know. I was like, okay, I'm curious. And then components, though, are amazing. I got to say, I am so impressed with the look of this game. So, because everybody has, like, their tombstone, but it has, like, rings around it. And what's going to happen is everybody will roll a dice, because you all have a dice. And it kind of has a little bit of a, kind of a poker thing-ish to it. Like, so if everybody rolls a die, whoever rolls the highest number is the one who gets to kind of scare one of the other players. But if somebody's rolled doubles, so if there's matching dice, well, then actually the double trumps the highest number. So if everybody rolled a dice, somebody rolled a 6, but we rolled 2 2s, well, the people that rolled 2 2s, then is the one that's going to scare. Both of them are going to. Now, but it depends on the different combination. Like, it depends on the dice combination on who gets to scare. Because then if there's triples, then that's going to interfere as well. And then when you're playing 2 players, it kind of changes things. You roll 2 dice. So highest roll wins, but if you roll a double, then that wins, and then highest double would win. Now you're getting cards as well, and some of the cards will allow you to manipulate your dice. And the dice are like plastic little dice, but they're made to look like stone as well. So like, I really like the look of the dice as well. So then when you're gonna like, okay, so these 2 people can scare. So then you're gonna go and you're gonna pick one of the people that you want to scare, and you take 1 ring off of their tombstone. Now, if you ever get your tombstone completely revealed, the last ring is off and now it says, rest in peace, you died, you're a ghost. So you're not out of the game though, because you can still interfere with other people, like with your cards. You can still play cards and mess with other people. Because now, at this point, your goal is to make sure everybody's dead. Because if somebody's still alive at the end of the game, then they win, right? But if everybody's dead, then, like, technically everybody wins then, right? Oh. So if you become a ghost, then your goal is you don't roll the dice anymore, but you're trying to mess with the other players and make sure that hopefully everybody lose. It's just, honestly, the big thing with this is theme-wise, it's so neat, especially for this season, and component-wise, this game is amazing. It looks so good. And it's like a straightforward luck. What did you roll? Who gets to scare? Who do you want to scare? I'm going to scare this person. Oh, great. They had a card. They kind of messed up with what I was trying to do. Or, so, but it's just perfect for Halloween. So that's my number 8, Fright.
Cool. I've actually seen this at our Liquidation World.
Nice.
Might have to grab one.
Yeah, it's cool.
All right. My number 7 is a game I had been waiting for almost a year. It had came out last year, I believe, maybe even earlier, and was hoping it would be here in Canada last fall, but never did make it here until just a few weeks ago. And this is a solo only game. This one is called Witchcraft. Now, this is a card game that you play, and you are a coven of witches who are basically on trial. And you are trying to use your magic to defeat challenges and to convince jurors that you are innocent. So how you do that is that's the base part of the game. There's a whole bunch of other scenarios that you can go through where you're actually not on trial, but you're just trying to complete these missions and things. But you do all the basic stuff in the base game of it. And so what you're doing is you will have these missions that you need to complete. And if you ever lose 2 missions, you've lost the game. Or if you ever have lost, I think, more than 5 villagers, because some of the missions you'll complete, but you won't complete all the challenges on them. And so that will you'll lose a villager. And if you end up losing 5 villagers, that's another way to lose. So you have all these different witches that you're going to choose from at the beginning of the game. And how you do that is you have this big deck, and you will flip 2 cards, and you will choose one to put in your coven and one to be able to maybe recruit later on. And you go through the whole deck that way. And so you'll have half the cards in your coven and half that are maybe possibly able to recruit. And then you will shuffle in 3 curse cards into your coven, and you will draw 5 cards. And so those 5 witches, possibly you'll have some curses in there if you drew those. And those are just basically there to clog up your deck so that, you don't have sometimes will not have all 5 witches. And they all have abilities on them, and they have a light ability and a heavy ability. Now, I can't remember what they're called. There are 2 different terms for them, but if you use the light one, they will go back into your discard and you'll be able to reuse them. But if you use the better ability, they will leave and go back into the deck, into the discard deck of the recruit pile. Now, what you're using for them is these actions, but they also have a number on them that will help you complete the missions and challenges. So now these 3 missions out there will have listed how many challenges need to be on each mission. So you'll flip all these cards face down, and then you will choose a mission to try to flip those challenges and see if you have enough power to defeat all the challenges and that mission. Most times you don't have enough to do that unless you were to reveal the witches. Oh, that's what it is. It's hidden witches and revealed witches, the left side and the right. So if you want to keep them hidden, they go back into your deck. They have a lesser power. But if you reveal them, then that's when you use the higher power and the higher defeat number, and then they will go away. But so now you have to choose, am I going to complete this mission, or am I going to complete the challenges and maybe not that mission? Most times you're going to want to complete the mission and then maybe not all the challenges. And some of the challenges are different because they will be, you might have an angry mob there that says you will not be able to complete this mission if this mob is still here. So you have to have defeated that mob before you do anything else. There are sometimes some familiars, and if you do defeat them, then they will come to you possibly and be your familiar and help you in a way. There's like wolves and different things that could be there. There's things that could actually make you lose witches out of your coven. There's ones that will add curses into your pile. There's all different kinds of things. And it's just, trying to figure out what is the best thing to do. You really want to complete these missions because, like I said, if you lose 2, you've lost the game. And you're usually having to do about between 6 and 10 of them. So it's just one of those games, puzzly games where you're like, okay, do I reveal this witch because I really need that high number and I need her power, or do I use the hidden side of her and she'll come back into my deck? And it's neat because they all have family names on them. So when you're choosing your witches at the beginning, you might be like, okay, I'm going to keep all the lilies because the more lilies I have, that's their last name. If they show up together, they add power to each other. So, and then, if I keep this name, the Haze, those together will give me more power to defeat missions. And this other family will let me draw more cards out of the coven deck. So they all do different things, and you have to figure out which ones you want to keep and which ones you can possibly recruit later. It's just a really neat solo game. You could play it cooperatively with someone else. It's just kind of like a Final Girl thing. Like, it's so interesting, and the decision making is so interesting that you could do it with two people and just kind of figure out together, okay, what are we going to do? Where should we put these witches? Should we reveal them? Should we keep them hidden? And it's lovely. And I'm so glad I finally got it. And I will be playing it outside of Spooky Season 2, because it's one of those that I like. I've already pulled it off the shelf. I probably played it at least 12 to 15
Oh, wow.
times.
Wow.
Because it's, now that I know how, that I can just, pull it off and just, okay, I'm going to do one scenario, and then I do one, and then I'm like, oh no, I'm going to set it up for tomorrow and just do one more in the morning before I go to work and that kind of thing. And it's just so awesome. This was actually made after the game Resist, which was also a solo only game with basically the same formula, but it's more of a war themed game.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I was waiting for this one because I prefer this theme, but I think they are very, very similar. So if you can't find this one, I think Resist is more easily found. Okay. But yeah, that was my number 7, Witchcraft. And
there's a pumpkin head, for the monster there. Yeah. So yeah, very, very thematic for this season, for sure. Yeah. Perfect. Okay, my number 7 is a game that was re-implemented with the Halloween theme. And that is BOOoop. So what's cool with this one is, because honestly, I wanted BOOoop. And BOOoop was just really hard to find. So I ended up getting this one. But you can play this game as the regular game. The only difference is this introduces ghost cats that you could just not play with. Now, the regular game, the way that it works, and this is a 2-player strategy game, and you take turn placing cat or kittens to start with into the mattress. And the mattress has stitches that has that creates a grid. So you would put a kitten on one of the location, and then the other player placed one on their location, kind of a bit like checkers. But what's kind of cool with this one is if I put my kitten next to another kitten, it boops that kitten over. So it makes it bounce one space over because, the mattress bounce. So straight line, side by side and diagonal. Oh, okay. So it'll boop one over. Unless there's another kitten there. Well, no, it boops every kitten that would be in the way.
Oh, right. Okay.
So they could all boop, right? Now, it'll boop your own kittens as well. So it'd boop. Now, if you ever manage to get 3 kittens in a row. Now, if a kitten boops off and now it's that kitten is next to another cat, that one doesn't boop again. It doesn't reboot from having bounced the one time. Now, the goal is to get 3 kittens in a row. When you get 3 kittens in a row, you trade them for cats. Now you have bigger cats. If you place a kitten next to a cat, the cat's not going to boop because it has so much more weight than a kitten. But if you place a cat next to a cat, the cat will boop. If you place a cat next to a kitten, the kitten will boop. You can also boop right off the mattress and fall off the bed. So that will happen as well. So it's kind of a whole goal of doing this, trying to convert your kittens into cats. And to win the game, you want to get 3 cats in a row. And that's how the original BOOoop works. Now with BOOoop, what it does, it introduces 2 ghost kittens. Well, 2 ghost cats. And the way that the ghost cat works, it works a little bit different because the ghost cats don't take a space. What they do is you would start them and they always get placed at the end of your turn. So be like, okay, well, I'm going to put the cat and then I'm going to put it. You pick a stitch and it's going to follow that stitch line all along. So every time at the end of your turn, you would move the cat. Now, the ghost, right? So if the ghost becomes side by side with another cat or kitten, it will boop it as well. Not diagonal here, just side to side. But if it if it becomes next to a cat, but then that cat has a cat next to it. So normally you wouldn't be able to boop because it bounced. But with a ghost, they're so freaked out, they will jump over that cat to get away. So you can boop past a cat that would normally stop you from being booped. And that the ghost is gonna stay on that line until it comes off the bed, and then you could have the option to put it up again and pick a different stitch, and then it would kind of travel across that stitch. So that's what this version changes. Now I know Boop the Hall is coming out, or Deck the Hall Boop, or whatever it's called, and it's a Christmas theme, and this one has 3 tiers because the mattress builds a Christmas tree and there's ornaments, but I don't know how that one works. But BOOoop is great. It's super interesting 2-player strategy game. I played this with Roberta Taylor, and she just crushed me because I kept forgetting that you're booping yourself because you're thinking, okay, I'm gonna put it there, and then it's like, and then she would move I was like, oh no, it does boop myself. So just to kind of keep in mind all what gets affected when you place a cat. And then it's like, because it's not as simple as putting 3 cats in a row, because they're gonna bounce each other away. So you gotta strategically try to bounce them into creating a 3 in a row. Super interesting. I really, really like this one. And then it's adorable. And you have the little mattress that sits on top of the box that makes it look like a bed. So it's super cool. Right?
Like it's like
a
cushiony thing.
Yeah, it's like a little cushion mattress, like a quilted mattress. So super neat.
So I have a couple questions. Do you each get a ghost cat?
In this version, yes. So there's an orange ghost cat and there's a purple one. So if you're the black cat, then you'd get the purple. If you're the white cat with the pumpkins, you get the orange ghost.
Okay, and you said once you have 3 kittens in a line, they all turn to cats, or
they all turn to cats, but then they come off the bed. So they come off the bed, then you replace them with 3 cats. So now you have cats you can put on the mattress.
But then you'd put 3 in a row?
No, you still only put 1 at a time, trying to get 3 in a row.
You have them in your supply. These cats now.
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. Because I've tried to play this on BGA, and I don't think I
understood the rules. Something's missing.
I was booping. I was getting booped all over the place. I'm like, what is going on here? And I never did actually read the rules about it, but I love abstract strategy games, and this is really cute. So yeah, I'm gonna have to try this one.
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, it's a little chess checkers right? Like a lot of strategy games is. Actually, last night I had a nightmare that I was playing chess with my brother and he was cheating. And we hadn't started the game and half my pieces were already captured and he was like all the way on my side of the board, but the game hadn't started yet. And I'm like, this can't be. I think you're cheating. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, so this is BOOoop, my number 7. Are we on 7?
Right. Yep.
Perfect.
All right. My number 6 is Wizards of the Grimoire. Now, this is a 2-player card game, again, and you are mages and proteges that you are trying to be the next keeper of the Grimoire. And how you do that is you are trying to cast all these spells and to keep playing the spells over and over to reduce the other mage's health, basically. And it sounds just basic, which a part of it is, but there's so much different things you can do with these spells, because there can be an attack spell. There can be a spell that gives you a bunch of mana, and mana is what you need to use to play these spells, because some of them will need 2 mana, 3 mana, 4, 5, maybe even 6 if it's like a really, really good spell. Once you've played this mana on these spells, then you've played as many as you can, because you always draw a new spell at the beginning of your turn. Once you get to, I think, 10, then you don't draw anymore. But then you can do a basic attack with just mana in your hand. Now, the mana cards will come in a 1, 2, 3, or 4. And of course, there's very few 4s and 3s. Less 2s, but a lot of 1s. So most likely you're going to have a bunch of 1 manas in your hand. Now, the spells require the card, not the amount of mana. So you might have to put 3 cards down and you're like, oh, I don't want to use this 4. So I might not cast that spell this time, but you choose what you're going to do and then if you have a bunch of attack spells, you will attack. But then next round, you won't be able to attack because they will still be full of mana. You always get to take one card off of each of your spells. It's called cooling off your spells. So you take one card off, and then some of the spells will let you take more mana off other spells. So you might want to strategically pull off your attack spells so that you can re-attack next turn. It's such a really cool thinking space in this game because you're trying to figure out, okay, what kind of spells do I need? The first few times I've played, I'm like, well, I'm just going to get attack spells, which I did, but then I had no way of getting the mana off. So it took like 4 rounds before I could re-attack. So I just got demolished. But I've learned that you need to balance out your spells because some of them have timing on them. Some of them will remove itself each round, so you'll get to take 2 mana off, and then it's like open again to use. Some will like give you a bunch of mana, or one will be like an attack. It'll do an attack for the amount of mana in the other person's hand. So if they have this big hand of cards, you're like, perfect, I'm gonna play this. Oh, what, you have 7 cards? All right, 7 attack to you. And it's just such a cool game. The cards and the art on this game are so beautiful. They're so thick. And it's almost like the art is like embossed. It's not.
Oh, cool.
But they're so beautiful and thick. They're almost hard to like shuffle at the beginning until you use them a bit. But I think I showed you these cards when we were at Gobfest. I just pulled out this deck and I was like, look at these cards.
Oh, nice.
So beautiful. But it's such a cool game. And yeah, that's my number 6, Wizards of the Grimoire.
Nice. Yeah. Good artwork on a game does make such a big difference. Yeah. All right. My number 6 is based on a classic Halloween movie. I actually played this game at your house, and this is Disney's Hocus Pocus. And this was interesting because it's a cooperative game. And I mean, like it's like a cartoony version of the Hocus Pocus movie. And what's really interesting is you have the board in the middle of the table, and that's your cauldron, and you need to try to get matching ingredients in order to be able to stun one of the sisters. And you know, when one of them is stunned, then you have like the event card that goes through, and then if you got the correct thing stunned, like you might be able to avoid some of the bad stuff that might be happening. But you need to have in the cauldron at the same time either all the same colored ingredient, or all of the same type of ingredient, or a combination of same color, same type. Or one of each color, I think you can try to do as well. Now or one of each ingredient. Like there's 5 different combinations that you can try to do. Now, what's happening though is we're all working with each other. We all have different cards, and you don't know what the other person has unless there's a certain thing that happens that kind of gives you the cat. And while you have the cat in front of you, you can put your hand face up for everybody to see. So, and then you can ask each other questions, but you could just be like, okay, who has green cards? And then people put their hands up. It's like, okay, well, I have a few greens here, so maybe we could try to get all greens out in the cauldron. So, but then you're like, okay, who has green cards? And then nobody else raises their hands. Like, oh, okay, great. I'm the only one with green, so I guess we're not concentrating on that, right? And you kind of got to try to hint as to what you want to be working on. And we're like, okay. And then if you ever get a matching set of ingredients in there, then you can stun. And I think you need to do so many stuns in order to win the game. Yeah,
2 or 3 times each. You need.
I think.
The sisters.
Yeah, I think it was at least 3. But then there's events that's happening as well, so there's that going on as well. So, you know, it's like, okay, so then who has oil of boil or whatever it says on there? And then it's like, oh. And then a couple of people say, oh, okay, we could try to concentrate on that. But when you place a card, you can only place a card in the cauldron that covers either the same ingredient or the same color. So I couldn't put a purple card that has the, I don't know, like the toe or something, a purple toe on top of the green oil of boil. So that comes into play as well. So it's an interesting puzzle that you're trying to solve cooperatively with everybody, but you don't have all the information. So you're trying to figure it out. I quite enjoy this one. I think we did end up winning.
Yep, we did.
When we played, but yeah, it was kind of, and then when you get like a matching, okay, yeah, we got it. And then you could go and stun one of the sisters. So satisfying. It was just such a neat game to play. I mean, very cutesy, cartoony artwork, but perfect for the season. So yeah, that's my number 6, Disney's Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, that was fun. All right, my number, what are we on? 5 here is
5, yeah.
Witchstone. Now this one is a Reiner Knizia game, but it feels like almost a lighter Stefan Feld game because of how it's played, and it's such a point salad game. You are all witches that you are surrounding this ancient stone, and you start on one of these towers basically, and you get to do all these things. You're creating magic spells, but how you do that is you all have this cauldron, and it's so cool. It's this player board that has like hexagonal spots basically, and then you have all these little duo hexagon tiles that you are going to choose. You always, I think it's from 4 or 5, you always get to choose out of, and you have a stack of the rest of them face down, and you'll get to choose one of them and you'll place it on your cauldron. And what it does is, if it's touching something similar, because there's 2 actions on that tile you place, if either one of them is touching another one of the same kind, you'll get to multiply that action. So you're trying to strategically place these down so that you can get multiple like actions each time. The different things you can do is you can move your witches. Well, first you can place them and then move them. By moving them, you would have to have built a route already. And you have these little acrylic pieces that actually will make your route. They're really cute. They're I can't even describe the shape of them, but they
they look like little gems, I guess, or
yeah, but they're long. And
prism.
So place those down, and other people can go along your routes as well. But once you've laid a witch down at that place or stood them up, I think it's standing is when they're final, or they're down. I can't remember, but then you collect that bonus, and nobody else can stay there. They can go through that location, but they can't stay there. So that's one way to get points. Another way is you can move these crystals that are already on your in your cauldron, and they're kind of in the way because you want to be able to place your tiles down. But if you move these crystals out of your cauldron, they will also give you like a cool action, because then you go over to this shelf that has all these different types of spells, and you will place one of your gems on there that was the action that you came out of, and you'll get to do different things there. You can also move up on this little track at the bottom, and I can't think of the name of it. That's another
That's
action.
A wand.
The wand track, right?
Yeah.
So if you have connected a bunch of wands, you can move up on this track. And if you are the one furthest up, you get to double the action where you land and anything before it. So it's like, all it is just points, but it's just gives you that dopamine hit of like, oh, I gotta get somebody here. Oh, wait, I could get somebody there. There's another one where you can go up to that star.
The pentagram,
Pentagram, yeah. And you will just move it around it. And there's these little chips on there, and you can either get points, or you can get more pieces to put in your cauldron, or you can just use it as a one-time action and do it. Then there's also another one where you can get these cards, and the cards are either endgame points or one-time action, or they can increase your actions. And it's just like a wonderful game of, you know, all these little combos that you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do? And sometimes you won't even plan it, and you'll be like, okay, I'm going to do this. Oh, wait, that's going to give me this. And you literally will bounce off everything and get to do almost every action in there. And it's just so satisfying, but it's such a fast game too. Like, I'm sure we've played it in under an hour for sure, but so satisfying. And that's my number 5, Witchstone.
Yes, Witchstone is great. I actually ended up buying this one at the FallCon auction, and I played it after that. So that's one I've played recently, and actually it's my number 5 as well.
Oh, wow.
So for all the same thing that you said. It's really neat that as you build your cauldron and you're trying to create these big clusters and then be like, great, I get to activate this clusters as well. So I'm doing 5 wand action and I get to move up this. Oh, and then activates that. So that allows me to go get a potion off the shelf. And I'm going to pick this potion, which gives me this. And like, it's so satisfying when you get it to kind of build off of each other for sure. Yeah, so for all the same reason of what she said, Witchstone is my number 5 also.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, then we're down to our number 4. And my number 4 is Merchants of Magic. Now, this one is a roll and write, but it's a different type of roll and write. To me, it almost really doesn't feel like one because it's basically, it's not one of those where you like will circle a thing and then go and circle that thing and then do this and that and that in a different way. So what you are doing is you are all owners of a magic shop and you're trying to craft different items and research spells. Now, how you do that is there's just 4 dice in the game for everybody. You roll these dice and there's 4 different colors. It's red, purple, green, and yellow. And you will write down the numbers. You have 10 rounds. So in the first round, you'll write them in a column and then you can use 2 of those dice. And what you're doing with them is you are trying to like build weapons, or craft weapons and craft things. But how you do that is you choose 2 of the dice and you will look down the column and you'll see, okay, what do I want to craft? And how you're making that decision is you will have a character that wants some specific things, but you will also have these fulfillment cards at the top in your shop. And you always start with 4 and everybody has 4 in their own shop. And you'll want to complete those as soon as possible because every round at the end, 1 card is going to be passed on the end of your shop to the other player and you will receive one on the other end. So you'll kind of move down in a line. So, you know, like the left one is not going to be here after this round. So maybe I won't work on that because I don't have those things, but I'll work on the ones that are, you know, further down to the right. And then, or maybe I'll look at my partner to the right and see what they have that's going to be coming to me. And I'll maybe kind of work on that because that one and one of the ones in my shop has 1 similar item. So I just need that and then 2 other things and I will be able to craft both those cards. So it's just a really cool thing because how you do that now is on the left side, you have all these crafting things. So it'll be like weapons, items, armor. And so how you do that is on the left side, all the dice that are needed will either be the number or something higher. So this, like if I wanted to craft a sword and say I need a 5 red and I have a 6 red, well, that's fine. I can cross that off. And now if the sword only required 1, I will circle the coin on the sword there and I've completed that. I have that sword and then I get to grab a potion. And what a potion does is it allows you to adjust the pips of the dice so that if you needed a higher or lower one, then so be it. Now the right side of your player sheet is different spells. And so you might need to like fulfill the elves, or you might need the dragons, or you might need fury, like all these different things. And those dice are whatever's required is the number or the lower. So of course the 2, like the D12 and the D8, I think all are on that side. And then the D6 and what is it? The D10 are on the left side. So you want the really high dice to be low and you want the low dice to be high. Now, as you're doing this, you are also trying to accomplish some different endgame goals. And then you are also trying to accomplish another thing depending on the box you're playing, because this is the base game I'm showing here, but there's different boxes that have different sheets and different values of things that you're trying to accomplish. But you are basically trying to get as many things as you can. On the bottom, you can also craft some things that will give you points for if you've collected or crafted a lot of weapons, or if you've crafted a lot of items, they will give you multiple points for that. Once you reach certain goals, you'll get to circle them, and then you'll get to use things like you'll just get to fill in circles. You always, like I said, use 2 dice, but then you have extra dice that you can use. 3 of them are free to use, and once you've used 3 extra dice, then you have to start paying potions for that. It's just such a neat game, and so themed for this type of season that I've been playing it like crazy. John loves this game too.
Oh, good.
Played it with my friends this weekend, and they both really liked it. And it's just such a neat game with, I mean, it is a roll and write, but to me, it doesn't have that feel of it, but it still plays fast. So, depending which box you have, you can add on like a whole player or game board, and then some, another thing where you can actually fight different characters and animals, and you have to build up your combat. There's a lot going on. This is in the line of Set a Watch. So Set a Watch is like a kind of like a dungeon crawl that I really love, it using dice and using those dice to like do different things with characters. So it has that feel of it, but it plays completely different. This one I am teaching at a car treat later on in the evening because it's lighter, but it's still really thinky and fun. But yeah, that's my number 4, Merchants of Magic.
Nice. Yeah, and there's a few versions of this because when I was pulling out the picture, I was like, oh no. So I went on Discord to find which one you had posted. I was like, okay, this one. Yeah. So
that's the base game, and then there's expansion.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay. Perfect. All right. My number 4 is a spooky game. So it's perfect for this list. Because if you're going to think of a game that's going to cause actual fear, this is the game. And it's based on like a horror movie, and you're like one of the potential victim in this horror movie trying to get away from somebody. And this game is called Nyctophobia. Now, first thing is the players that are the people in this scenario are wearing these glasses. These aren't sunglasses. They're blackout glasses. You see absolutely nothing. It's even best if you like turn off the lights as well. Like, so you're in the dark completely. So you see nothing. Now you have these little knobby things on the board, and depending on the shape of the knobby thing, which is your character. And you have like the location on the side that shows which is south, north, east, and west. And you're going to feel like, because there's one person that's going to be kind of running this game and shows what's going on, and then they pull the card and kind of shows what the movement are. But so they're going to go by feels that, okay, you're right here. So you're going to put your finger out, and they're going to put it down on the game, and like you feel that, okay, that's me. That's the cross-like shape. That's me. And it's like, okay, where do you want to go? Do you want to go north? Do you want to go south? Do you want to go east? Or do you want to go west? And you can't really tell what's on either side. So, well, I think I want to go east. And it's like, okay, so if you go east, and then the person's going to move your finger to one space east, and then you're touching like pokey things, and it's like, oh, there's trees. I can't go that way. Now, one of the characters gets a axe or a chainsaw that they can go through trees eventually, but right now, okay, you can't go through trees. And you don't know what the board looks like, and the map is set up for depending on the scenario, so that changes all the time. So, okay, well then, I'll go north. Okay, you go north, and all you know is that you were in a car. Like the scenario we did is like, we were in a car, somebody took off, so we all took off in this forest trying to find them, and now we try to get back to the car. So our goal is to go out, find the missing person, bring them back to the car before the axe murderer catches us. But the axe murderer is out there, and and you're like, okay, well, I don't know. It's like, okay, well, where do you want to go? And you got to remember where you've been. And it's not by sight. It's completely by just remembering. It's like, okay, well, I was here. I went north, so we went up one. And there were trees on the side. So I can't go that way. So then I think I'll go west this time. And then you go west, and it's like, okay, it's just an empty. Okay, so I can go that way. But then you got to try to remember how to make your way back to the car as well. And then all of a sudden it's like, You can like, and then the game kind of builds the spooky. It's like, hey, the axe murderer is near, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, there's not even this axe murderer. It's like, oh, and then like, so you jolt and you get to kind of go 2 directions away, but then like you're just like, okay, you've gone 3 directions away, and now you ended up here, but you don't know how you got there. Like, and then you got to try to figure it out, and you know the axe murderer is near, so it creates so much spook and anxiety, and like, but it feels like, oh my god, I'm about to be murdered. We gotta get away. So super interesting game. It's just so neat, and that's Nyctophobia.
Awesome. I haven't heard of this one.
Oh, it was kind of interesting because the designer created this game so that a relative of theirs who was blind would be on equal footing as all the other players.
So cool.
Neat. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely have to try that sometime. Perfect. All right. Number 3s. My number 3 is Final Girl. Now, this one is based on all the old cheesy horror movies we used to watch in the 80s and 90s. But they haven't taken the actual license for their real name, and they've changed it a bit. So instead of Nightmare on Elm Street, it's Frightmare on Maple Street, I think.
Right. Okay.
And, instead of Friday the 13th, I'm blanking what they call it. It's just a camp, some kind of camp. But there's all these different boxes that you can get. You have a base box, and then you will buy all these different scenarios of different horror movies, and then you can play it that way. And this is a solo only game too, but again, you could play this with another person and make decisions together, which I really want to do. I've done it, I think, with John once, but I'd like to try it with some in my game group too. It'd be fun. What you are doing is you are the final girl in the movie, and you are basically trying to kill the killer of the day, like the theme. But you have all these other victims on the board. So you have this player board, and the player boards are so neat because they are basically the box. So the series or scenario that you buy, you take off the box cover and back, and you flatten it out, and it has like a magnetic, like it's basically magnetic clasp to the box. So you will kind of bend it back a bit, and then it'll be a flat board. So you'll have your location on one side, and then you'll have the killer on the other side, and you'll flatten that out. And so you have this track for this killer, and he has a certain amount of health, and he will move up. As he kills, his bloodlust will move up, and he becomes more angry and more difficult. And you are also trying to save these victims. So you are trying to move around this location, saving victims, getting them to safety, searching at different locations. Because when you search, you get these cards that will give you like abilities or weapons. So you might get an axe or a knife or something that helps when you attack the killer. How you do that is you have this hand of cards, and you will play these cards. And whatever you play, you have to roll dice. And you usually only start with 2 dice, and you'll roll, and you need to get stars. You need to roll stars. If you roll stars, you will complete the task. Sometimes you might only roll 1 star, and you will half kind of complete it, or just maybe not move quite as far or whatnot. If you don't roll any stars, you fail, and it's usually bad news because you'll lose time, which is kind of a resource in this game. You might go back on the track where you maybe built up your fear, less fear, and you've gotten more dice so that you can roll 3 dice each round instead of 2. And it's just so cool because as you're doing this, you do your phase, and then you do the killer phase. And so he will come usually after you, but usually he'll want to go after victims before you. And as he's killing them, his lust is going up. So he's getting more, he can move faster, and he can kill more, and he can kill more often. But that's not the end of it. You're also pulling from this horror deck. So he does his phase, and then you pull this horror deck, and he's doing more. He's coming after you more. You do have or can buy cards that will allow you to retaliate to him, to attack him. And you're basically just trying to reduce his health to 0 as he's trying to do to you. And it's neat because once you get him to 0, and yourself as well, you have this little disc, basically, that you don't know what's on the bottom. And if you are dead or he is dead, you will flip it over. And if it has hearts on it, then he has come back or you have come back. Just like in the movies, you know, how they just never die, or the girls fell off the house, but somehow she gets up running, you know, those kind of things. And it's just so cheesy and thematic, but it's so fun. And it's just a blast. I love it. I've been playing a few scenarios because I haven't played all the packs that I have. I've almost played one. There's actually a Christmas one too.
Oh, cool.
I'll definitely be playing in. It's like a Krampus one, I think, but they'll be playing in Christmas season. But it's just such a good game. And this was kind of based after the game Hostage Negotiator, which has kind of the same formula in it, basically, but just a different theme. And it's very, very similar. I borrowed yours because I just wanted to see what the difference
right.
was. It's very, very slim differences, like same mechanics, same way of doing things, but such a cool idea. Or how these people come up with these games. It's just floors me how they do it, but I do love it. And that's my number 3, Final Girl.
Nice. Very nice. My number 3 is a crossover. Yeah, I'm looking at my list because I forget where I put it. And I was like, okay, which one was it then? And that is Phantom Inc. Yeah. I absolutely like this game. It was so fun when we played it. And then I was like, we were talking about it and I was like, oh yeah, we should pull that again. It's like so good. So what happens, there's 2 teams. Each team will have a clue giver. That's the ghost. Each ghost is going to pick a card of words and they're going to pick one word on them. So each team has a different word to guess. And then it'll be like, okay, so maybe the word is zombie, for example. So, okay, so with zombie, you keep the card down. Then the teams are going to be handed out a certain number of cards that have the clues, the questions, and then they'll provide 2 questions to the clue giver. The clue giver is going to look at the question that's handed to them, and they're going to pick one to get rid of. Because it could be like, where do you buy this? Well, I don't know where you buy a zombie, so I'm going to get rid of that and then pick the other one, right? Like,
which you get to choose the question.
You get to choose the question out of the ones that are handed to you. So, and maybe instead it'd be like, I don't know, what school subject reminds you of this or something like that, let's say. Be like, okay, well, zombies, I don't know, we'll say biology, right? So then, and then you give the answer one letter at a time. So the other team has no idea what the question is. So the answer doesn't resonate with them at all. We know what the question is. We don't know what the answer is. So maybe we're like, okay, so I'm saying biology, and we'll be like one letter at a time, like B. I. But we were like, we're ghosts, so we go, B. Like, we couldn't help ourselves. So we're spelling one letter at a time until the team's like, B, I. Be like, oh, stop. And then the other team's like, what? But how many school subject starts with BI? So, like, it kind of narrows it down. Now, you're getting all these clues that are attached to the question, so it doesn't necessarily attach to the word itself. And then anytime that the team was like, okay, guys, I think we figured it out, then they can say, I think the answer is ghost. Okay, let's give it a try. Okay, so then they'll write, instead of us writing kind of one letter at a time, they'll write the answer and they'll put G. And then we say yes or no. No. Oh, stop. So you don't put any more. So the other team may or may not know what you were trying to guess. But it's like, okay, it's not ghost. Then what is it, right? Until one team guessed the correct answer. And then it's like, oh, okay. And then it's like, next clue is like, well, what color is it? It's like, okay, G. Okay, well, G could be green, could be gray. Okay, one more letter. R. Well, same thing. Okay, one more letter. E. Okay, stop there. So I was like, okay, it's not ghost, it's green, probably zombie, right? Like, so then you can, okay, and then the next round's okay, we're gonna guess. Okay, stop. Z. It's like, Okay. Oh, we're on the right path now, right? So I'll tell you guys, it is so fun. It is so fun and so interesting. And like, it has such an interesting spin on a guessing, like word guessing game. Absolutely love this one. So that is my number 3, Phantom Inc.
Awesome. Yes. Such a good game. All right. My number 2 we are on now is a game I've been playing lately. I've been posting it quite a bit on our Discord, and that is Pagan Fate of Roanoke. Now, this is a 2-player card game, basically, and you are playing as a witch and a witch hunter. And if you were the hunter, you're trying to figure out which of the village folk is the witch. Now, how you do that is you have actions. You all have 3 pawns that you can use, and you can go out into the village to do actions. You can do actions on your own player board. You can do different things. But if you do go out into the village, then you will be putting different influence and I'm trying to think what it is for witches. It's something called something else, but you'll be putting these little pieces on the villagers. And if you can build up 3 of them, you will turn it into a different form of resource that will help you win the game. And how you win the game is, if you are a witch hunter, you will either have revealed all the innocent villagers, so you do know who the actual witch is, or you actually make a guess of who the witch is. And how you do that is you will build up all these different influence tokens on each villager, and you will guess who it is. And if you're right, you win the game. If you are wrong, you lose all those tokens and you kind of start over. So you really want to be sure. And as you are doing that, the witch is trying to basically put all these tokens onto her villagers, but mostly onto the actual witch. And then once she does that, then she will perform a ritual and she will win the game. But for her to do that, you will see where she's placing all these tokens. So you can, as a witch, you're not going to obviously do it right at the beginning because it's going to be too obvious, or maybe not. Maybe you're tricking them. Maybe you're like, oh, it is the actual witch, but they probably think it's not. So they think I'm just, bluffing here. It's just such a back and forth game, because as you're doing that, the witch can play these like spells or charms, they're called, and it can prevent the witch hunter from going to certain spots, or they can go there, but they're not going to be able to do the actions, because you'll want to be playing as many cards as you can. And if you prevent them from going to the spots that allow them to play cards, they're kind of stuck. Then they have to use their actions to remove these charms. There's just all different things you can do here, and how you block them. It feels like a chess match, but with cards and cool pieces and Euro-y fun. So it's just so cool. And this is just the base game I have. This is going to come with, or not come with, but they're going to sell a whole bunch of different packs of these different scenarios that you will have different win conditions, and you may have to do different things. I don't even know what they could possibly be, but John and I have played this probably 5 or 6 times with just the base, and we're still not sick of it, because the combos you get from the cards, each have this big unique deck of cards, so you can do all these different things with it. The witch can have these familiars that will help her, because she has a familiar pawn, and when that pawn is placed, he can have, or she can have, a power that is really cool. The witch hunter can have allies. So these people, they're just cards. They will help the witch hunter do things, but then the witch can remove those allies. So it just kind of goes back and forth to be like, okay, I want to do my stuff, but I got to take away their allies, or I got to remove their familiar. I got to get those charms out of here because it's preventing me from doing what I want to do. And it's just so neat. I have the player mat, which is just gorgeous, and it's one of those player mats that has a spot for everything you need, instead of having to try to figure out where to put stuff. And it's
nice.
Awesome. And I love those type of player mats, because then you don't really have to think about the setup. You're like, oh, this goes here, that goes there, this goes here. And it's just so lovely, and I really like it. And that is my number 2, Pagan Fate of Roanoke.
Very nice. Yeah, the components. This is a really cool looking game.
Yeah.
Yeah, very neat. All right, my number 2, And I looked at it a while ago and then I forgot what it was. Oh, yeah. And actually, last year we did a Halloween party, a Halloween board game party, and we played that at that party here. Now, I was supposed to do a Halloween party, but it turned into a wedding party, so we're not. But this is Obscurio. So Obscurio has a very strong Dixit and Mysterium feel to it. And what's happened is we're being trapped in this room and we're trying to find our way out, and we got to get to the correct exit. And there's all these different doors that we can go through. But there's a Grimoire, and the Grimoire is going to provide us with different clues. And what's cool about it, because one of the things with Dixit or with like, it's like, okay, well, here's your clue card. And be like, with the Mysterium, it's like, here's your clue. And I'm like, I don't see any connection at all. Or you see too many. Well, did she pick this because there's a tool here? Or did she give me this because there's this here? Or is it because there's some blue on the card and then there's blue in that card? Or is it because like it's a magician? And so it's kind of hard to figure out what exactly of this card is part of the clue, which is part of the fun as well, right? But with this one is you do get a little arrow token that you can put on to kind of point towards what specific aspect of the card that's like, okay, this door over here. So that's what I'm kind of thinking about. Or you can leave the thing out, it's like the whole thing. Look at everything because it's the thing as a whole. That's the clue. But then there can be some like negative things that will happen. And sometimes you have like this swirly overlay thing that goes on top of your clue. So it's like, okay, here's your clue. It's like, well, I can barely see the card. It's like, yeah, good luck. It's like, it was pointing to something. I think it's a fruit. Like, and it's like, it's kind of somewhat covered up. And then what happens as well is, because this is cooperative play, we're all working together and then these two clues are going to point out to a door. And the doors have their own image, and you're trying to find, okay, well, maybe it's this door, and that's the way out. And if everybody misses the correct door, we're trapped, I think, and we lose or whatever. But one of us is a traitor. And they'll be like, I don't know, guys. I think maybe it's this, because he knows which door is the door and gonna try to persuade us away from that, right? It's like, and kind of geared, but we don't know who the traitor is either. So it has that kind of different aspect to it. This is a really interesting game. I think like the way that it kind of took that mechanism and changed it and kind of, it made it really, really cool. I very much enjoyed Obscurio.
Yeah, that was fun. It definitely has a Mysterium feel, Dixit feel, but so neat.
Yeah.
All right. Number ones. My number one is Evenfall. Now this one is
so spooky.
It is. It's like a fall witchy theme again. I'm all about the witches this season, as you can tell.
Yeah.
This is your coven of witches, and you're sending out witches to discover and control new places of power. Now, how you do that is with a whole bunch of different cards. There's cards that are placed in all these different locations, and they are all places of power. You always start with one. And you start with one next to your player board in your outer circle. So that is in the top right of your tableau. And these places of power will usually give you points, and they will possibly have different symbols on the top right that you can harvest once you get rituals on them. So how you do that is you do start with a hand of ritual. They might be rituals, they might be specialists, but they are, again, multi-use cards. So either being a ritual that you can play on top of a place of power, they will usually give you a bonus depending what you play on it. And then itself, the ritual will give you something that you will either get to do right away. It might hold another little worker placement spot for one of your witches. Mm-hmm. It might do something that, I guess that's basically the instant, the ongoing, and then, worker placement spots. Another thing you can do is harvest. So you can harvest all the things you have in your outer circle. And you need resources, you need books, you need potions, you need herbs, and those you need to place the rituals. You may also have specialists in your hand, and those will go to the top left side of your tableau. And those will usually be ongoing things that will help you throughout the game, make things cheaper, help you in combat, which I'll explain in a bit. They will do different things. Now, the specialists you could also just play as council members, and those will go under your player board, and those will strictly be end game points. Those also cost potions, books, and things like that. Now, you do start with some resources, but you can get more with basically playing your rituals and using them. You can also go out to these locations and you place your witches there, and they will gather either places of power, or they will gather mana, which is kind of a resource you need to use during combat. They will gather resources, but they'll also give you a spot. It kind of, there's a little bit of an area control at the end of the round where you do some combat basically, and a battle, not combat, a battle. That's what it is. And so at the end of the round, you will go through the 3 locations and see, okay, who's got the most here. And whoever's on there will also have their little mana disc. And for how much mana they've collected, they can spend some of it. And they will all like put it face down and flip it up. And who's ever spent the most mana will have won that location. And they'll be able to grab this little stone that they can use at the end of the game to put on one of their cards to double the points to it. You'll also have different actions you can do depending how much mana you've used and how much strength. You'll get to do all these actions, and everybody gets to do that even if they've won or lost. And then you go through all these locations, and then you start over, and there's 4 rounds, and you will just be comboing all these cards and doing different things and gathering all this power. But you also want to have moved these cards from your outer circle down to your inner circle before the end of the game, or they won't give you points. They basically stay up in the outer circle so that you can harvest all the stuff, but you will want to bring them down. Another reason you'll want to bring them down is if any of the cards have worker placement spots. You have these elders that are at the bottom of your board, and they can't go out into the outer circle or out to the locations. The elders can only be used in your inner circle, which is the bottom. So you need to pull some stuff down so that you can use them. And it's just so neat. You have this mana track that you will move up on your player board as well to give you different things. And you can use that anytime, but there's only certain actions that will allow you to move that up there. And it's such a cool game. Love the multi-use cards, love the theme, and it's just so fun and so thinky. It's got an awesome solo mode to it, but it's another one I'm going to be teaching at Card Treat. So excited to share it with more people. Only played it with solo or 3 so far, but I'd love to try all the player counts of this one. But yeah, that's my number 1, Evenfall.
Nice. Yeah, I saw the picture of this, and then, I mean, I've played it, and I forgot it was about witches. And I was like, well, that's not very Halloween-y. But no, it totally is. But it is so satisfying, and it's kind of neat what has you play, because you really got to think of what you want to accomplish and kind of get your plan put together. And then I got one where it's like, okay, well, if I activate this ability here, I get to also activate these bottom 2 things. So I really want to try to go here to take advantage of that. And like, and yeah, like the combo thing, like in the what you build and then what you put where, like it was so cool. I really enjoyed that one.
Yeah, it was fun.
All right. Well, when I think of spooky Halloween-y game, my mind automatically goes to Cthulhu. And I love that theme. And I was like, if I give in, my whole list would be all Cthulhu-themed games. So I'm not. I'm going to pick my favorite out of that theme, and that's going to make my list. And it made my number 1. And my favorite Lovecraft Cthulhu-themed letter game is Mansions of Madness.
I still haven't played this yet.
Oh, so good. Which would work best? It's probably going to make the list again when we do our dungeon crawl, but this is a dungeon crawl. And what's really cool about it, it's app driven. So it builds on the scenario. You have the map. It's a set map. It's not just random. So you'd be like, okay, I'm in this room. And then it'd be like, okay, well, you notice that there's a weapon on the table. So you would put like a little weapon token on the table. And there's this here. And then, and then you walk into this room. So you add this tile number. And then you add the tile number. And you get in there. So, and then there's this person, crazed person talking to themselves on the side. And you could go and interact with them. Or you could go and part of it is figuring out what's going on and how to defeat the game. We did a scenario one when it was like when we did noise, it attracted the bad guy to us. And we're like, oh my God, don't make noise, whatever you do. But the bad guy was there to kill the family of the mansion. And we want, like, the whole point of the goal was trying to get it away from the family members. So they almost all died. We saved just the maid. And so I was like, oh wait, I think we were supposed to make noise. But like, and then the way that the story builds up, and then there's a bunch of expansion with it that kind of adds different things to it. And you have to kind of make it through the room and kind of inspect what's going on, figure out how do we win this game, because you don't know what the winning conditions are technically until that kind of reveals itself as it goes as well. And I did one scenario where the room caught fire and there's a fire going and different things as well. And we played this because you can also go insane. And we played this with one person and he went insane, and it's a cooperative game, but he wasn't playing cooperative. Like, he's trying to win it on his own now because he doesn't trust anybody else. So it was like, so he wouldn't share stuff anymore. It's like, okay, there's like, and then my sister went insane afterwards. Like, hey, whatever you do, do not interact with Jeannie anymore. But we don't know. Her card was you go insane, but you're strong mind, so nothing happens. And she's like, stop it. But she can't tell us what her insanity effect was. So we're like, don't trust Ginny, don't trust her boyfriend, just it's between me and you. But it was so cool, like, and then just how the story develop, how the board develops, and you kind of get this whole mansion. It's so good. It is so good. I really need to play this one again. I've only played it like a few times because, well, for one, I didn't have it for a while. Now I do have the game, but it's not, it's not one that, and it's kind of one of those games where, because it's like different scenarios, I tend to not want to waste them.
You need an app too, right, for this one?
Well, yeah, so it's app driven, so you don't have to read, you don't have to kind of go and check in the book what tile needs to come out next. Nothing gets revealed because the app will reveal as it develops. So it's app driven in that way. It says, okay, we go in the room. The app will say, okay, bring out this tile if you're going over there. So, okay. So now you bring out this. So it takes away from the minutia that somebody would have to do all the readings, all the figuring out, all the, like, that aspect is controlled by the app. But then so you're just playing the game. That takes that away from it. So it's well developed. But yeah, it's super neat. I really, really enjoy this game. And that's my number 1, Mansions of Madness.
Yes, I need to play this game at some point. Awesome. Mm-hmm. All right, well, that was our spooky list. I can't believe we have 2 crossovers. I thought one for sure. I forgot.
Which one did you think would be?
I thought Phantom Ink for sure. I forgot you had played Witchstone. But that's awesome. Yeah, so next week or next episode, we will be continuing on with number 60 to 51.
Halfway. We're going to be halfway.
Almost halfway there, yeah. But until then, where can people find you?
So we do have a Discord channel, so be sure to check us out there. I am on Instagram at Mel's_boardgame_room. I also have a Facebook page, and that's called Mel's Board Game Room. And my YouTube channel is Mel's Board Game Room. How about you, Carla? Where can we find you?
I'm on Instagram at boardgamespecialist, all one word. And I have a Facebook page called Red Deer Board Game Fanatics.
Wonderful.
Yeah. All right. Well, until next time, thank you all for listening. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.